Politicians are opting not to attend. It'll be an interesting few hours. Let's bring in Minister for Sport and Aged Care, Anika Wells, and Chris O'Keefe from 2GB. That's how we all drive home listening to Chris. Well, Anika, to you first up. The Prime Minister is Catholic and as is the New South Wales Premier. It's a big statement for them both not being there.
Well, I'm not the Prime Minister's mum, so I'm not in charge of his diary, and I don't know where he is this morning, but we're all very busy people, and we are sending Senator Don Farrell, our Special Minister of State, to represent the government.
OK, Chris, what do you think?
I don't know how they could have gone. Why would you go? It's just, in terms of politics, talking about child abuse here. Whatever you want to say about George Pell, he oversaw, while he was in Victoria, as the Royal Commission found, basically industrial-scale child abuse in the Catholic Church. Now, he was never found guilty of anything. He himself, he's been exonerated completely. He's not a criminal, was not a criminal, George Pell. But if you're in the Prime Minister's shoes, Dominic Perrottet, the New South Wales Premier, very Catholic. Chris Minns, a practising Catholic, the bloke who could be the Premier in a few weeks' time. They're not going either. They'll be looking at their diaries and thinking, is this really worth the drama? Because you've got protests out the front. If people are so tied to George Pell that they want to farewell him, well, good luck to them. But as a politician, you're crazy if you do it.
Well, we've got you here. You've been following this Alice Springs story very closely in the afternoons, as has Ben Fordham and also Ray Hadley. The Mayor of Alice Springs is demanding the ABC chair retract multiple stories that claim the town's community forum was dominated by sentiments of white supremacy. They're pretty disturbing allegations from the Mayor. What do you think about how that's going to unroll today?
I don't know how I know nothing about how the journalists put the piece together. I know nothing about the report, so we'll start there. But work backwards. There's a massive problem at Alice Springs. It's got nothing to do with white supremacy. Nothing. It's got to do with youth crime, basic law and order, and alcohol abuse. And significant disadvantage in Alice Springs. We're talking about hundreds of years worth of disadvantage, and this is seen writ large right now on the streets of Alice Springs. And I don't care what the ABC said. I don't care what politicians are saying. Somebody needs to get in there and sort it out. And Anthony Albanese, I know that he was at the tennis for 3 days. Well, he's entitled to go to the tennis, but he's also has a really pressing issue that he needs to address right now in Alice Springs.
Anika, I wonder why he hasn't been up there again, given the complexities of it, and everyone's at pains to point out how complex it is. If something is so urgent and so complex, why wouldn't you be there?
Well, he was there. I was with him last Tuesday morning before he and our Indigenous Affairs Minister, Linda Burney, set off for Alice Springs. I haven't spoken to him since he came back, but they were going there with urgency. They'd rearranged their diaries at a moment's notice to make sure that they went there, because I think what everybody wants is what Chris just said. They want action. So you've got to have the federal government there working with the NT government and local councils together, because like Chris says, it's an enormous problem. It's been a long time in the making. It's going to take a lot of political will to get it resolved.
But there's also been significant weasel words from your government, Anika, and that's the truth. When Anthony Albanese came out and said, oh, the alcohol ban was lifted under the Morrison government. No, it was lifted in July. Anthony Albanese became Prime Minister in May. He changed a lot of decisions of the federal government. So trying to split hairs on who's to blame is just ridiculous and completely counterproductive. If the Mayor of Alice Springs wants the AFP in there to help sort it out, send the AFP. If the community wants the Defence Force, send the Defence Force. If they need more education structures, health structures, send them in there. At the moment, you're sitting there just sort of splitting hairs with the Chief Minister of the Northern Territory, trying to come up with some woke view of how to deal with this and what is palatable to the inner cities. Ultimately, the people of Alice Springs need help, so go and give them the help they need.
Well, thanks for your view, Chris. I know that the Prime Minister's working with the Chief Minister of the Northern Territory, and I think we're waiting on the NT government to hand down their report. I think as we speak, we are waiting on that. If the Prime Minister's asked who's to blame, he's going to give an answer. That doesn't mean that he's spending his days, his hours thinking about that. I know that they are losing sleep over what they can do and what they can do constructively, because like you say, it's been a problem an awful long time in the making.
So frustrating.
And it's going to take an awful lot of political will and cooperation across all the different levels of government and the community, which, as you say, we know wants an outcome.
Okay.
To get it done. I lived in Alice Springs when I was little. Sorry, Carl.
No, you finish that. Because if you know the problems, then I would have thought the answers and
no,
at least
I
the
did not for a
solutions
moment.
were coming a bit quicker.
I was a little child.
Okay. All right.
I was a little child, just suffice to say that I know this was a problem back then.
Okay, so it's been a problem for that long, hasn't it? All right, guys. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.